but we must accept that we are all one people, children of Kenya. The success of our nation is the love that each and every one of us and each and every one of our people has for this country. Indeed, yes, we must all love Kenya, and Kenya must always come first. Honorable members, this august House must stand for that unity and must rise to the promises that we have made to the people of this great nation. Nothing can come second to that.
That was last year, about a year ago, and of course, welcome back to Citizen Extra. Senator Sakaja, Senator Malala continue to have this discussion with me. The president talking about unity long before what happened in August and the subsequent months happened. And now we're talking about the unity deal, and we spent quite some time talking about it. There's a proposal to bring another change, and I think what today's show has been about changes, the 3-tier system. I want to get your thoughts on that proposal by NASA leader Raila Odinga. Senator Malala, let me start with you.
First of all, I want to say that this is a noble idea from the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And I'm supporting this idea not because it comes from Raila Amolo Odinga. I'm supporting it because it's aimed at strengthening devolution in this sense. If you have a 3-tier structure in devolution, it means that we're going to have regional governments and county governments. And Raila Amolo Odinga has suggested that the regional governments will get 30% of the funds from the central government. The county governments will get 20%. We will have improved the usual 15% of devolved funds to the county governments. And therefore, devolution will be strengthened. Secondly, if we have a regional government, this is going to cluster a number of county governments into one viable economic bloc. Most of the county governments like Lamu, Vihiga, they are very small to attract any investment. And therefore, if we cluster these county governments into one viable economic block.
Why not cluster them into one block and eliminate the counties there?
No, we in the spirit of devolution, we need to devolve funds down to the village. And therefore,
but the
we cannot.
MCA is already there.
Yes, we want to have a cluster of economic blocks, like the other economic block that was recently formed, the Lake Basin Economic Block.
I think it's 14 counties.
Yeah, I think we can easily attract investment with such blocks. It's going to stimulate the economies of certain regions. But if we operate in isolation, I think we are not going to strengthen devolution as pertains economic stimulus. Second, I think we're also going to have more focus downwards as opposed to having focus on the presidency. If we have 50–60% of monies devolved downwards, we will not even be interested in who becomes the president because we'll be having self-governance down there. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity to say that this idea should never be politicized. This is an idea which needs deeper interrogation. We need it to ferment. We need it to be conceptualized in a sense that we are going to strengthen devolution and not fighting devolution.
Senator Sakaja, at what cost will strengthening devolution take? How expensive will it be to implement proposals like this one?
First of all, it's a proposal. I personally don't agree with it. I don't think we need, as has been proposed, I don't think that is the way to go. And let me just give you some background. First of all, devolution is based on the principle of subsidiarity, meaning a service is best offered at the lowest level compatible with the benefit of that service. So if it's best to provide health from this small unit, and it's more efficient and it reaches the people, that's where you need to focus on. On that one, I think we should not move upwards. We should focus more down there. But it's something that I think still can be discussed. Remember, in 2009, during the Parliamentary Select Committee on the Constitution process in Naivasha, there was a very thorny topic on representation, and they could not agree on the units of devolution. There were proposals on let's maintain the provinces. Was it no? Those will be too big, and you'll have, for instance, the governor of Rift Valley will be bordering 4 countries, and we'll have so many people. Yet, so the discrepancies around that. Then there are proposals on, I think, around 74 of them, 16 regions, dividing each province into 2, leaving Nairobi intact, but Rift Valley into 3. Such that because of the disagreement, they just decided, let us keep the districts of 1992. So the counties we have today were not created out of any deep thought. There was no economic thought about it. There was no. It was just that because you could not agree on anything else, let's go back to the districts of 1992. And remember that time, the former president, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, he used to give districts just like that to his friends, and they used to be dished out. And it is true, you need to have counties that are big enough for economic absorption, but then again, small enough to be close to the people.
And that's a tough balancing act.
The only country which has a similar, and the many countries that have the similar system, because we don't want to go into federalism, which is Majimbo. Our constitution is very clear about the unitary kind of government we have, but we have what we call fiscal decentralization. So in that model, for example, for instance, in South Africa, they have exactly the same model of devolution. They have 3 levels. They have the national government, then they have the provinces, then municipalities. So if you create this tier called regional, you cannot have counties. You'll move from the regional to the municipalities. You cannot have, you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't have a county government where you have a governor and all that, and then again you have a regional governor. I don't know what you call him, RG, and there are all these big cars flying around counties and a lot of money being spent on people. Yet wananchi down there are not feeling a difference in their lives. And I just like to mention one thing. The constitution puts a minimum of 15% for devolution, but since 2013, it has never been 15%. It's always above 15% of the last audited revenue. In fact, the first year started, I think, around 32%.
Although we also know not all money not all of that gets to the counties, and we've heard of complaints.
No, it all does.
Rather slow.
Counties get their money. The problem is the cash flow, is when they get it. And that's a problem we're trying to deal with in the Senate. Because when you give somebody the money too late and they've committed contractors, they've committed what, also it doesn't help. And our counties also don't have a saving culture. We don't have that in the counties. And everybody wants to spend as big budgets as possible. So that's an issue of cash flow and just fiscal discipline around the counties. So that's an issue we need to discuss. The point is, all these proposals need to be on a table and let's look at them. And also to enhance cohesion and integration, Waiga, we need counties to be clustered. Counties like Kakamega and Nandi County, Uasin Gishu County, to be clustered in a sense that we can have different communities who have not been talking for a very long time, now being on the table of discussion, being on the table of empowerment, discussing matters of empowerment and not matters politics. That is a good point.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sorry to cut you short. The problem we've had with our counties presently constituted is that our counties have become ethnic Balkans. That today, and the County Government Act is very clear. For instance, it says that not more than 70% of the employees in a county should come from the dominant community in that county. So today, if you want to go and find a job in Kakamega, for instance, but on your ID it says Wahiga Maura, they'll tell you, no, Wahiga, go to Nyeri to look for a job. Yet maybe you were born in Kakamega. In fact, the back of your ID says Kakamega. And you go to Nyeri and they'll say, no, you go back to Kakamega. So a lot of our young people...
Johnson, go back to Kakamega.
A lot of young people are not getting jobs in these counties because of their tribes. Our counties were not supposed to create tribal kingpins. That, in this community, it's only Masais who should be hired in Narok. It's only this community that should be hired in this county. And I want to tell you, as chair of Labour in the Senate, I am pushing, and I'm sure my colleagues will help me on this one, that we need to do inter-county transfers because we won't fire them. The people who've already been hired in counties. But let you be hired in Kakamega County. Yes, you're from Butere or where not, but go work in Mandera or go work in in Nandi. You've been hired in Turkana County. Go work in Makueni. Let it not be that people think that for you to get a job in Makueni, you must be a Kamba. For you to get a job in Garissa, you must not just be a Somali, but from a certain clan. How
do you balance it then with the locals who say the jobs aren't enough anyway, before you think of hiring outsiders?
You first start with those who've been hired and do inter-county transfers of those who are right now on payrolls in
to counties. Create a space.
Not even to create space. To spread out those who are already hired. Okay. As of today. And the challenge we have is that we have 47 county public service boards. So, we're creating a structure where all county service boards come together and you can do those inter-county transfers.
Senator, come in.
And we need to define the meaning of locals. When you say locals must get 70%, it means those people who are born, those people who stay in Kakamega. You can have our Wahiga who stays in Kakamega, who was born in Kakamega, who went through as a primary, secondary school in Kakamega, and therefore Wahiga will be a local of Kakamega. And therefore the issue of wanting to define locals as a tribal outfit. I think it is something that we need to clear it out and ensure that as we implement the issues Honorable Sakaja is proposing, and I want to assure you that I will support that.
Thank you.
We need a platform, we need a framework whereby we have the county service boards having an interaction of transfers, getting certain experts coming from maybe coming to work in Kakamega County. Maybe we need a certain engineer in Kakamega who is hired in Nairobi and has
specific skill sets that you can't get elsewhere.
For instance, I'm sure we don't have 47 neurosurgeons.
Yes,
we don't
and
have,
that has been a big issue. Gynecologists, etc. Yes.
So we need to be able, and issue that also includes standardizing their terms of payment, of reference. Let them be employees of county, not necessarily this specific county. And let them be county employees wholesale.
In the recent past, we've seen counties owning up national institutions and saying that this more university is for Uasin Gishu County. We want to tell them that national institutions must remain to be national institutions.
Fair enough. Gentlemen, I want to dedicate the last few minutes of this interview to switch from the state of the nation to the state of Nairobi. You saw that message, Senator Sakaja, and I don't know whether we still have that tweet. It will be coming up in just a bit. Let me get your thoughts on a couple of things that we've seen. First of all, we've seen Governor Sonko really at pains to explain what he's done in Nairobi, and happy that Nairobi workers are paid on time. We've raised 1.6 billion. A lot of corruption was happening, so sort of we are dealing with cartels first before we can focus on other issues. We've also seen the roughing up of NCBDA chairperson Morioki the other day. Very unfortunate, and if we have some of those clips, we can play them as well. All this leaves Nairobi citizens confused, and I think those are some of the messages that we're getting. And I want to get your thoughts. Where are we as Nairobi? What solutions are you providing as the senator of this county?
The first thing I must say, I want to condemn in the strongest terms the violence meted out on Timothy Morioki. Every Kenyan has a right to express themselves. Whether his statement was in support of or against the governor does not matter. Anyone should be able to take criticism or even to allow to be supported, because if you look at the statement, it's actually in support of the governor. And I think that is a culture that is creeping in of a gang mentality that must be dealt with in this city and in this country. Let people say what they want to say. You cannot on one hand say you're with the people, you're providing services, then on the other hand people are being constrained from speaking their minds, and so that must be condemned, and I hope that the police get to the bottom of it in terms of that. Number two, there are a lot of challenges in this city, and for a long time I have said, let us give this county government a chance to address these issues. The infrastructural problems, of course, we came from a deep hole, but as it is today, the frustration in many Nairobians' minds is at a palpable level. People are disappointed at the level of garbage, at the level of infrastructure, the drainage, etc. And for us as leaders, it is time for us to come together with the governor to say, now, where do you want help? What
is the plan?
Where do you want
Speaking as a Nairobi resident, Senator, I think the big issue is we don't understand the plan anymore. There was a manifesto which you all campaigned on, to transform Nairobi, but we don't know if that manifesto is still valid. Where's the governor taking Nairobi County?
You see, I don't speak on his behalf. In fact, I oversight him. So the questions you're asking are questions I am also asking.
Are you concerned as well?
Yes, we are concerned about the city. We are concerned. If Nairobi doesn't work, 60% of the GDP is in this city. When Nairobi does not work, the country, the country cannot work. So we are also as concerned. And we want to understand where is the problem? Where do you want assistance? Where do you want help? And we're telling Governor Sonko to collaborate with leaders, to work together, bring together the MPs,
is he a lone ranger?
Bring together the MCAs, and let us tackle these problems together. Otherwise, every problem will be heaped on one person, which is not fair. To actually heap it all on him, it is not fair. But when we're bringing together all the MPs and we're going to sit down and say, tell us where you want assistance, because it has reached a point that actually, and Nairobians want politics. Nairobians just want services, and just simple, clear services, not a lot of stories. They just want services provided, garbage collected, water in their taps. There's a big water problem in the city, yet there's so much rain.
Okay, I'm coming back to you to understand what are you doing to sort this? When is this conversation? You say leaders need to have a
We have
conversation.
started this conversation together with the members of
Hang on
parliament.
1 minute. Let me allow him to come in. Senator Malala, you may operate in a different domain, but no one gets away from Nairobi. It still remains, for all intents and purposes, the meeting point, and for Senator as well. Let me get your thoughts on the challenges facing this county.
I think our forefathers, as they were fighting for the second liberation, this was a liberation to ensure that we have democracy in this country. And I think that is one milestone that we need to safeguard and ensure that democracy is guarded. And whatever happened to that gentleman is quite unfortunate, and I want to condemn it with the strongest terms possible. I want to state here categorically that Nairobi is the face of this country. Nairobi is the engine of our economy. And therefore, whatever happens in Nairobi affects us. The perception that Nairobi is an autonomous government is wrong. I think it's a high time the governor should allow inclusion of and consultation with other leaders and stakeholders to manage Nairobi. Nairobi can never be a one-man show. I want to urge the national government to also come in handy and ensure that they help the county government to operationalize.
But it said that it's interference from the national government that is affecting the operations of this county government.
Nairobi cannot operate autonomously. That one I can assure you. It does not have even the financial capacity to operate autonomously. We must have suggestions, we must have fiscal support from the national government to the county government.
Fair enough.
And just allow me to say two things. One, even the constitution provides for cooperation between two levels of government. Our hopes are on this regeneration of Nairobi plan launched by the president, and which looks at some of these critical areas. And there's a technical committee chaired by the governor together with the Honorable Balala that is supposed to ensure that certain issues are implemented for the sake of the country, you know, and we're fully behind that. And what I told the president, because I spoke to him about it, I said, involve all the leaders. It cannot just be about the governor. Involve even the MCAs, because some of these things need goodwill. You cannot do urban renewal in a ward and the MCA cannot tell his people whether they'll get houses, you know. So we need that involvement. And there's a lot that needs that cooperation. It is good, and on this one I must applaud the governor that he's been able to increase revenue collection. But the more you tell Nairobians have collected this much, they say, okay, we don't care what you've collected. Where is it? We want to see services. And that is what we want to support him to do. For us, no one is interested in him failing. In fact, if he fails, we all fail. And the reason why, and I know people have been saying, why is the senator quiet? The senator is quiet. The senator is not fighting the governor. Oversight does not mean fights. It does not mean that I should start doing press conferences every day. Oversight is done, first of all, within the purviews of Senate. The first thing I did in the Senate was to actually raise the issue of 65 billion shillings owed to Nairobi, because Nairobi needs those resources. And if you ask Senator Malala, and if you consult the Hansard, I've been dealing with the issues of bringing the resources to the city. Now, the oversight that I'm going to offer Nairobi as its senator is to make sure that, number one, the budget that is approved by the county assembly is implemented to the letter in all areas of the city. Okay. That is the number one thing we must do. Number two, oversight must not be witch hunt. You cannot just oversight a general feeling. There must be, non-subjective or rather objective documentation that says, look, from this report, this and this was supposed to be done, X amount was not spent well, this was not spent well. Otherwise, oversight across the country will just be witch hunt. And you see, everybody says, oh, now all senators will start fighting the governors because they want to be governors themselves as well in the future, and we lose then the role of the Senate. But we will make sure, because we also elected, I was elected by close to 1 million Nairobians to protect their interests in this county. So we've been following, we've been looking closely, we've given the governor time and space to implement, but now we actually, the rubber is now meeting the road.
So the time is up.
The time is up.
That's
now.
the message you're sending to the governor, that Nairobians must see results.
Nairobians must see results now. Nairobians must
in your
see
view,
results.
Let me take this as your last word. What is Nairobi's biggest problem? Is it lack of resources? Is it lack of leadership? What is the biggest problem affecting this city?
The biggest problem affecting this city, number one, is lack of coordination. Lack of concerted efforts from both levels of government and within the county government and even at the national level.
So you don't want to say it's one body or the other, you say it's coordination between all bodies.
Because, for instance, I've seen people making noise about Kasarani Mwiki Road, for instance, you know.
Yes, and
they
we saw
direct that road to the governor. But that is a national road, you see. So there are certain elements of our infrastructure that are national in Nairobi, and others are county. So you cannot say, no, it's the governor who's not working, or it's the national that's not working. But there must be a continued cooperation. And people must be clear about what their responsibilities are. There's what the governor needs to do, and there's what the national government needs to do. None of them can be absolved in the case of Nairobi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Senators,
just to add up, I think senators are supposed to be ambassadors to their respective counties. We are not enemies of the county establishments. We are ambassadors.
At least not anymore.
Yeah.
We shouldn't. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we are ambassadors who are supposed to represent the interests of our respective counties. And therefore, whatever my colleague is saying is that there should be no worries about a senator rivaling a governor. We have distinct mandate as envisioned in our constitution, and therefore we do not have any agenda to fight the government.
Thank you so much. That's Kakamega Senator Cleopas Malala, Nairobi Senator Sakaja Johnson. Senator Johnson, we've just delved into Nairobi. We'll call you another day.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about.
The Nairobi conversation is much wider than that. People are sending me questions, but unfortunately we are out of time. Thank you for finding time to be here with us.